we've got why everyone suddenly wants Greenland. It's a very hot topic, and Trump is not playing about this year, man. 2026 has
Yeah.
been a crazy, crazy year.
Mm.
What do you know about Greenland, and why do you think America suddenly want it?
Um, I mean, according to Trump, it's for defense. Um,
Yeah,
they believe that China and Russia pose a threat to Greenland, or they could potentially try to take over Greenland. I mean, the thing is, though, Mike, Greenland is part of NATO, so it's already protected because the policy of NATO is if you attack one NATO member, you've literally attacked the entire NATO. So like
mm.
Greenland, technically speaking, is already protected. So I don't know why he feels the need to
And
go to go take over.
it's also rich in potential minerals and resources and wealth,
Yeah,
and that's one of the reasons why. Let's keep it real.
yeah,
And it prevents rivals like Russia and China from gaining influence.
yeah,
That's how Americans, Trump argues.
yeah. If we're being honest, I think it's mostly about resources. It's about expanding U.S. territory, bro. And also they've got a base there already. They've got a military base there. So the excuse that he's giving right now, for me, doesn't make sense.
It's a bit lousy, you know.
Yeah, man. Just leave it to the Danish people, man. Those people are very peaceful. They don't cause problems. I don't know why he's moving like this. Let us know in the comments, guys. The Americans out there, what do you guys make of this policy? Trying to take over Greenland. Let us know in the comments. But yeah, guys, smash this like button, sub to our Patreon, guys. Sub to our Patreon. We keep emphasizing in most of our videos that the Patreon is very important. We're gonna drop in lots of content on there. So please sub. We're trying to get to like 1,000 paid subscribers. YouTube for the most part, is limited. A lot of our videos get copyrighted, right, Mike?
All the time, man.
So if you want to help us out, man, sub to our Patreon. I'll leave the link in the description. Yeah, enough talking. Let's dive in there.
Whoever controls the oceans has the power. And here in the high north, a new ocean is being born. I'm wandering through a graveyard of American military equipment on the largest island in the world. Like, what I'm seeing here is just a bunch of American military infrastructure that was set up during World War II, used during the Cold War, and now it's just abandoned. It's like this massive dish that was a part of the Cold War defense in the Arctic that the US used, creating a chain of radar so that if the Soviets invaded from the Arctic, they would be able to detect it. And this giant dish is one of those radar boosters. After the Cold War, the US sold this town and all of its buildings back to the Greenlandic government for $1. They didn't need it anymore.
Really?
That's because the world was at peace. Everything was good. And the Arctic, was just a frozen place that now, with the Soviet Union falling apart, was not strategically that important. But things are changing. I want to show you what this looks like, what it actually looks like on the ground here in Greenland, get you up to speed on everything you need to know to understand what is certainly going to be one of the most important geopolitical issues for years to come.
Increasing tensions.
Looming war in the Arctic is a massive military buildup.
What happens in the Arctic Circle could have far-reaching implications for us all.
I'm at an airport in rural Greenland. It's like in this fjord system near the village of Umanak. And I'm realizing that I need to let you in on something, which is today's video is sponsored by Storyblocks. I've been using Storyblocks for a decade, long before I was ever a YouTuber. I was just a video.
Yeah, go support the sponsorship and that. We're running out of time, so we got
beautiful shots, right? I'm taking all these amazing shots of Greenland. Most of the time, I'm not able to do this. This is an expensive thing to come out here and get all these shots. Most of the time I'm in my office making videos about the world. How do I do that? Storyblocks. Storyblocks is a giant repository use to, and then the best part is a very good feeling for anyone who's had to pay to license footage per clip or per second. Storyblocks is just like you pay a subscription. It's a very reliable, no hidden fees, reliable rate every month. Actual creators that are production companies, like when I was working at production companies, or
Oh, okay.
like
Then that's the ending of the ad. Cool. I was trying to make sure, because we don't want to miss out any information.
so much easier when you have unlimited access to clips and assets right inside
Long
of
ads.
your editor.
Yeah.
So, giant fan of Storyblocks over here. Really grateful that they're supporting today's video. There's a link in my description. It is storyblocks.com/Johnny Harris. Clicking that link helps support this channel. Not surprising.
Yeah, for sure. Check it out, guys, to support his channel.
But it also shows you how you can get in on this. You can go find what the pricing looks like for you. You can go get a bunch of my clips that I've uploaded to Storyblocks here from Greenland, and hopefully you'll be a better, stronger, more versatile creator because of it. Let's get back to this story because there's a lot to cover. I have been moving through Greenland, exploring this massive island. Mostly I've been in the fjords, in these rural communities, hunting for seals and birds, riding on dog sleds, getting to know how ice works. Ice is way more complicated than you can imagine, and the people here know it very well. And filling in my gap of knowledge. It's a gap of knowledge that I think a lot of people have. Like, a lot of people know Greenland for memes about how little is known about Greenland. Or maybe you know it as the island that is always exaggerated in its size by the Mercator map projection, but maybe that's probably just map nerds who think of it that way. But anyway, the fact is this place is not very well known or understood. But I'm telling you, that is about to change.
The foreshadowing is crazy though, right? It's like this guy was time traveling, because this video is even more important now.
For sure.
It's mad.
The top of our planet is a giant ocean. For centuries, empires who control the oceans are the ones that had the power, but not up here. This ocean has always been frozen, desolate, and inaccessible to powerful navies in search of power and influence. So the Arctic has remained a geopolitically quiet place. This is one reason why Inuit traditions have been able to stay alive here. Though that's a whole nuanced subject, and I went on a deep dive in another video I made from Greenland. The fact is that things are changing. A new man-made blanket of carbon is now in the air, and it's been trapping more and more heat on our globe and warming it. Just a few degrees, but somehow enough to change everything. Here's what the ice up here looked like at its lowest point in the 80s. And here's what it looked like at its lowest point last year.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Mad.
And the other scary thing about global warming, is the fact that it can lead to like sea level rise. So like any city that's got low altitude is susceptible to flooding basically. So so a lot of cities within this area could get flooded, potentially in the future. So it's definitely a big problem,
And this new ocean in the high north is heating 4 times faster than the rest of the planet. And where there are liquid oceans, there will be countries looking to control those oceans. The new shipping routes, the oil and gas, the minerals, and just generally the opportunity to control and influence a new place. So you've got Canada, who's laying claim to the Northwest Passage, saying that
So this is what it actually looks like, Mike. Look at that. These countries are actually very close to each other, Canada, Alaska, the USA, they're quite close to Russia,
Mad.
quite close.
this valuable new shipping route cuts right through their territory and should be theirs. You've got Russia with all these military bases dotting their Arctic frontier. They're also claiming all of this ocean, all the way up to the North Pole. They even put a flag on the ocean floor a few years ago. The US is spending over $1 billion to buy and build icebreaker ships to patrol the Arctic. And even the rising superpower China, a non-Arctic nation, is trying to get in on the influence up here, working with their ally Russia to create an ice Silk Road, investing $10 billion in projects across the Nordic region.
So yeah, lots of activity happening all over this region. I've just scratched the surface on a few highlights here. But the fact is the Arctic is getting a lot of attention. And one major focus is here in Greenland.
Don't you find it crazy that China and Russia are allies, bro? Like, after all they're doing, China don't care and they're still supporting them. It's just
You know what's going on? they're going off of the idea that if we have a common enemy, we can become friends. So or if we have a common rival, we can become friends. For example, Mike, if I don't like a certain person, and you don't like that same person, we can decide to work together. We can link together and say,
Take them down.
Yeah, even though we might not like each other, but because we hate this one person
more than our hatred for anyone else.
Yeah, we can work together, to bring that person down. And I think that's what China and Russia are doing, because of like America is the dominant force, and they don't want that. So they're going to work together, man, to bring America down, which is going to be a very difficult task because, America is not just powerful by itself, and it's got NATO as well to back it. So, so if you're going to try to bring America down, you're going to have to bring down the rest of Europe as well, So that's the thing.
A place that has been pretty ignored by great powers. Until there's something they need, or there's something to gain, which is exactly what's becoming the case as the ice melts and this new ocean appears. Are you a global superpower looking to project influence in the newly opening Arctic? Look no further than Greenland, the gateway to the Arctic Ocean. Most of Greenland, this massive island, is located conveniently within the Arctic Circle. This is why it was the chosen jumping-off point for Arctic explorers who were trying to be the first to reach the North Pole in the early 1900s. In fact, the US recognized that this massive island was a smart geopolitical location a long time ago, convincing Greenland's colonizers to help them evict an Inuit community so that they could put an airbase up here. The top of the world turned out to be a perfect location to traverse their growing empire and to spy on the Soviets during the Cold War. They even had nuclear weapons up here for a time. And it wasn't just one base. Over the course of the 20th century, the US set up a handful of military bases in Greenland. They used this island to put up these massive radar systems, which would serve as early warning in case a Soviet invasion came from the north. And now it just looks like a full-blown prop from a Star Wars movie. I mean, look at these. So Greenland's strategic potential was clear, but once the Soviet threat went away, the US mostly abandoned its presence here. Though they still have that base way up north, and they've turned it actually into the base of their Space Force. But they eventually closed down their embassy in the capital, and Greenland went back to being nothing really useful to the great powers. Just a frozen island at the doorstep of a frozen ocean. So Greenland, this massive Arctic island at the gateway to the Arctic Ocean, is now becoming much more important. That's because this ocean that's always been frozen is melting more and more every year, opening it up to new trade routes, to new resources, to new versions of influence that can be exerted at the top of our planet. And so great powers are once again paying attention to this place. Because great powers no longer see a desolate frozen island, they see opportunity. They see an island perfectly located close to new enticing shipping lanes. They see an island with territorial waters full of new resources, whose territorial claims theoretically extend all the way past the North Pole, incidentally overlapping with Russia and Canada. They see the potential of this place being a repository of rare earth elements, the stuff we need to build modern electronics like cell phones, computer hard drives, and electric vehicles. Suddenly, this place is becoming a lot more valuable in the eyes of people who want power. A fact that was highlighted by a guy who spent his life sniffing out real estate deals on land that was about to become valuable.
Trump wants to buy Greenland.
A large real estate deal. So the concept came up, and I said, certainly I'd be strategically, it's interesting.
Yeah, that actually happened. Boy, that was a crazy 4 years.
What do you make of Trump as a president?
It's crazy how he even got to presidency. They didn't believe in him. He believed in himself. Love him or hate him, at least he's doing something in the presidency.
One thing I gotta say about Trump, just like what you said, love him or hate him, he's very decisive, bro. He doesn't waste time. If he says he's gonna do this, he will get it done, whether you like it or not. In that aspect, you have to respect him. Because I'm a big fan of people that are very decisive. So yeah.
I'm glad it's over. Anyway, the point is that Greenland is now getting loads of attention and becoming much more valuable. Which brings me here to perhaps the clearest symbol of this renewed interest in Greenland. This is the new US consulate in Nuuk. After saying they planned to buy the country, the Trump administration backed down after Denmark was like, hell no, get out of here, and instead took a different approach. They ramped up efforts to build relations between Greenland and the United States, building mutual economic interests, which resulted in the opening of this consulate just in 2020. The US now has a diplomatic presence, a physical presence in Greenland. This big frozen island that no global superpower really thought was that important until recently.
I'm pleased to announce we will reopen our consulate in Nuuk, Greenland this summer for the first time since 1953.
So this actually reminds me of a story I did a while back when I was up in the Arctic for Vox Borders, and I was visiting a Russian consulate on this little island. And it truly never ceases to surprise me that in an era of like sophisticated alliances and like international institutions and like sophisticated military weaponry, we still resort to just putting human bodies and buildings in places that we want to have influence in. Like it's a board game. Some things will never change. But as the US looks to deepen its ties with Greenland, so is another power, another global superpower, one that incidentally is nowhere near the Arctic. But who knows that if they want to be the top dog on the world stage, they're gonna need a foothold in this new region.
A race for resources could lead to a boil over.
A lot of focus is placed on the Chinese. They do control a significant amount of supply.
We are so adamant that these areas of the world that are the arteries of trade and shipping remain peaceful.
There is a worry of this Chinese possible infiltration in the country.
In 2017, Greenland wanted to build...
I'm not gonna lie to you, China's influence on the world is rapidly growing, bro. You know, they're traded in South America, I heard. A lot of South American countries are partnering with China. You know, even in Africa as well, a lot of infrastructures in Africa are built by Chinese people. So, you know, these men are, they're getting the work done, man. So, you know, America definitely need to stay vigilant because China really wants to expand, you know.
For sure.
So, yeah.
Build more airports, like the one behind me that they're building. Here in Greenland, they don't have a lot of infrastructure for big airplanes, so you can't get like big commercial flights in and out of large amounts of the country. You have to fly around in small planes and helicopters, which is kind of cool if you're like going on an adventure. But if you're trying to develop your country, you need bigger airports. The problem is building airports is expensive, and no one wanted to fund this, except for China. The Prime Minister of Greenland went to Beijing, their friend, and said, hey, do you want to help us fund our new airports? China was like, yes, we will give you a loan to fund the airports, but it has to be a Chinese construction company that builds the airports. And Greenland was like, okay, let's do it. That sounds great. And immediately over in the United States, alarm bells start going off. This is not good. The context here is that China has a habit of giving loans to countries that they want to like have influence in, like in the future. They do this a lot in Africa, like they give loans knowing that they now have leverage over all of these countries who now owe them money. Anyway, so the United States sees this potential deal happening between Greenland and China and hates it. Greenland, this place that is so strategically located, that is right next to the United States, that is really a huge part of the future of global influence in the Arctic, suddenly in debt to China? No. In fact, the Pentagon freaked out and was like, what if Greenland defaults on their payments to China and China seizes the airports and starts using it for their military? A little bit of an alarmist, like, doomsday scenario. But it's true, like when you owe something...
I know one thing I gotta say about America, yeah? They are very paranoid. That's what I'm about. They don't want China or Russia anywhere near, you know, even in South America, but they don't want none of those countries near their territories, bro. Even if it's a million miles away, like it's mad, you know. But at the same time, though, you gotta be paranoid as a superpower, you know, because when you're at the top of the food chain, you're gonna have people that, you know, that are gonna try to take your spot, you know.
For sure,
so,
for sure.
So you got, you know, you gotta stay vigilant.
Someone money, they have leverage over you. The U.S. did not like this. So the U.S. goes to Denmark and tells them to kill the deal. Denmark
does it. They agree. And suddenly Denmark is now funding 2/3 of these airport projects.
China got rejected on these airport deals thanks to US pressure. But they didn't give up. They started setting their sights on those rare earth minerals that we talked about earlier, the vital ingredients for your phone, your computer, and your electric car. China holds a near monopoly on mining and processing these minerals. So they see Greenland as an opportunity to continue that near monopoly, but also an opportunity to access the Arctic, another place where they can compete with Western interests. It started when this Chinese corporation made a deal to fund a zinc and lead mine in the far north of Greenland. It was all going to plan until the Australian owners of this mine suddenly decided to end their deal. Oh, and shortly thereafter, they got a $650 million check from the United States to fund the project. Once again, the US blocked their rival from getting a foothold in the Arctic. Another Chinese company has had their mining licenses revoked entirely by the government of Greenland. So between this diplomatic pressure, as well as some local anti-mining political sentiment, China has been blocked time and time again from getting its foothold on this island.
China's words and actions raise doubts about its intentions. Beijing claims to be a near-Arctic state. Yet the shortest distance between China and the Arctic is 900 miles.
So yeah, the USA has made its stance very clear that they don't want China, a non-Arctic nation, to be meddling in this region, to be gaining a foothold in the gateway to the Arctic, this region that is opening up, that is becoming really important. And in addition to blocking China's efforts, the US has also stepped up their own efforts to get more US influence and presence in this place, to prepare for the future of geopolitical conflict.
The US is doing investments on its own, investing billions of dollars in military infrastructure in this region, including a $4 billion upgrade of that air and space installation in the north. They're also committing to military training exercise within the Arctic. The US Army has been sending their soldiers to train in Arctic-like conditions to mimic what conflict might look and feel like in the high north. The US government is offering millions of dollars in aid directly to Greenland to help them develop their mining and tourism sectors.
So yeah, once again, we see the struggle for influence playing out between great powers in all of these kind of hard-to-see battlefields. Loans, infrastructure, blocking trade deals, diplomatic pressure, military presence. This is kind of the flavor of modern conflict. I mean, not the Russian flavor of modern conflict, but like the great powers conflict plays out in these other ways, these hard-to-see ways, these bureaucratic, systematic ways.
But who cares about these big superpowers and what they want for Greenland? I came to the capital Nuuk to talk to my friend Kupanuk about what Greenlanders actually want. After all, this is their island. They should decide how it's used and by whom.
So we are not just looking at the Western world through Denmark anymore, but we'll see more globally. So we're starting to realize more and more how lucky we actually are.
That's super interesting.
It turns out that about half of Greenlanders actually think it's a good thing that China is increasing in its power and influence around the globe. But when you ask them specifically about China investing in Greenland, they're more hesitant, with nearly 70% saying that they oppose foreign investment from China. But a country like Greenland, which has such a fraught history with colonizers, also has reservations about Western interests here too.
And a lot of injustices have been and are still being done in colonial and decolonial nations. More and more things are just being shown now because people are more aware of their rights and more aware of the rights that are being violated.
So Greenlanders are waking up to their power in this situation, waking up to the leverage that they have in this new global competition. And while they might have their concerns about China and the West, they're looking for the best deal for their country.
The first ones must be our closest friends and like-minded nations. And then if other countries want to invest in Greenland and in our way, we are open for business.
So as we move into this new era of great power competition, the map is changing in unexpected ways. Add to that the warming globe that is creating a new ocean, and suddenly this island, so often forgotten by great powers, is now in a position of leverage.
There are many Greenlandic people who haven't realized how powerful we can be, how much is like I don't know how small Denmark is without Greenland. It's like, it's just a tiny, tiny country if they didn't have us. We should be more aware of it. And
that's a good point that she made. You know, Denmark is tiny as hell. I don't know the exact numbers, but you know, I believe their population is just a few million people. You know, but Denmark is very advanced, Mike. Very advanced. They're one of the most energy efficient countries in the world.
Nice.
You know, healthcare is very good, stuff like that. But Greenland is definitely a major asset for Denmark. It makes them far more powerful. But yeah, man, you know, this is fascinating stuff.
Tiny, tiny country if they didn't have us. We should be more aware of it and be more proud of it and realize how powerful we can actually be in the future.
Great production.
Hopefully we don't get hit with copyrights for all this music. But yeah, I think that is it. Mike, what's your takeaway, bro?
I'm very curious to see how this unfolds. I didn't know it was that much of a battle between China, Russia, and America. And I understand where they're coming from, but at the end of the day, it always boils down to resources and financial gain. And it's crazy, man. It's crazy. The way the world's going right now.
Yeah, it's very concerning. You know, the last thing that we need is war. Hopefully, this doesn't lead to war. You know, because war is devastating, isn't it? But but just like what you said, it's mostly down to like, mostly down to resources and gaining assets. You know, America wants to be more powerful. It wants to be more dominant, but at the same time, it wants to restrict its competitors, isn't it? So so I think that's probably the main reason why they want to gain control of Greenland, is to prevent China and Russia from gaining access to those resources. You know, so that's the thing, man. You know, everybody's going to do what's in their interest in it. So the main thing is, as long as it doesn't lead to conflict, that's the main thing. Yeah, if you guys like the reaction, man, smash his like button. Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to sub to our Patreon, guys. I'll leave the link in the description.